top stories this hour. More than 3,600 Palestinian children killed in first 25 days of war. Dozens killed in fire in rehab center in Iran. Death toll rise to 10 as storm Kiran hits Italy. Welcome to the World News on VOP TV. I'm Masinachi Okafo. More than 3,000 Palestinian children, newborns and toddlers inclusive have been killed and said to have been hit by airstrikes, smashed by misfired rockets, burned by blasts and crushed by buildings in the first 25 days of the war between Israel and Hamas. Also among them were avid readers, aspiring journalists and boys who thought they'll be safe in a church. Nearly half of the crowded streets, 2.3 million inhabitants, are over 18, and the children account for 40% of those killed so far in the war. Israel says its airstrikes target Hamas militant sites and infrastructure, and it accuses the group of using civilians as human shields. It also says more than 500 militant rockets have misfired and landed in Gaza, killing an unknown number of Palestinians. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Israel to press for more humanitarian aid to be allowed into besieged Gaza. His visit comes as Israeli troops tightened their encirclement of Gaza City, the focus of Israel's campaign to crush the enslaved ruling Hamas group on the northern border with Lebanon. Tensions continued to escalate ahead of a speech by Hezbollah leader Hussein Nasrallah, his first public comment since Hamas attacked Israel last month, stoking fears this conflict could become a regional one. On Thursday, Hezbollah, an ally of Hamas, attacked Israeli positions in the north with drones, mortar fire, and suicide drones. The Israeli military said it retaliated with warplanes and helicopter gunships. Still, Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Abdullahian and the head of the political bureau of Hamas, Islami Hanina, in a phone conversation, conferred on the latest developments in Gaza Strip. In a post on X, Abdullahian stated that he discussed the latest developments in Palestine, including the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, with the Hanyan on Thursday night. On Tuesday, Amir Abdullahian and Ismail Hanina met in Qatar for the second time in the past month. The Israeli regime has been waging war against Gaza since October 7th, when Hamas-led Palestinian resistance groups launched their biggest operation against Zionist regime in years. The sneak attack, dubbed Operation Al-Quds Storm, came in response to the regime's intensified crimes against the Palestinian people. The Israeli war has so far claimed the lives of 9,000 innocent Palestinians and left upwards of 32,000 others wounded. Meanwhile, no fewer than 27 persons have died in a massive fire that broke out at a drug rehabilitation center in northern Iran early on Friday. According to reporters, the cause of the fire was not immediately clear. However, Provincial Chief Justice Ismail Sadiqi disclosed an investigation was underway, which stated the center could accommodate up to 40 persons. In August, a fire broke out in Tehran's Grand Bazaar, damaging multiple shops but causing no casualties. Recall that in January 2017, a fire at a 15-story Plasco shopping center in Tehran killed at least 22 people, including 16 firefighters. Record-breaking rainfall has produced floods in a vast swath of Tuscany and storm as some Syrians pushed into Italy on Friday, trapping residents in their homes. inundating hospitals and overturning cars. At least 3 people were killed, bringing the storm's death toll in Western Europe to 10. Italian civilian protection authorities said nearly 8 inches of rain fell in a 3-hour period from the city of Livorno on the coast of the inland valley of Mugello and caused river banks to overflow. Video showed at least a dozen cars getting pushed down a flooded road. The Israeli army on Friday announced that 4 more Israeli soldiers had been killed in overnight fierce fighting in Gaza with Palestinian fighters. According to reports, the Israeli army death toll since the start of the military ground operation in Gaza on Tuesday has risen so far to 23 army personnel. Palestinian group Hamas military wing, the Al-Qassam Brigades, however, stated late on Thursday that the number of Israeli deaths in Gaza is much higher than what Israel has announced. Meanwhile, heavy Israeli airstrikes continued overnight across Gaza, bringing more casualties to the Palestinian death toll. This week, the Israeli army expanded its air and ground attacks on the Gaza Strip, which has been under relentless airstrikes since the Palestinian group Hamas launched a cross-border attack against Israel on October 7th. North Korea lambasted the United States on Friday for its recent test of Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile (ICBM) as it vowed to respond to the reckless provocations with prompt, overwhelming, and decisive counteraction. The U.S. test launched an unarmed ICBM at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, with a defense delegation led by Deputy Minister for Defense Policy in attendance. It marked the first such observation by a South Korean delegation in 7 years since 2016. The U.S. later simply terminated the Minuteman III over the Pacific Ocean on November 1st due to an anomaly during a test launch. The North has been seeking to bolster its nuclear arsenal. Meanwhile, in September, the recalcitrant regime amended its constitution to enshrine a nuclear force-building policy, a year after it enacted a new nuclear law authorizing the preemptive use of nuclear arms, calling its status a nuclear state irreversible. The 10th summit of the Organization of Turkic States, OTS, has stated in Kazakhstan's capital Astana on Friday, according to the press service of Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. Also attending the event on the leaders of Turkey, Azerbaijan, Hungary, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. The summit started with a meeting of the group's Council of Foreign Ministers, where Kazakhstan's top diplomat Murat Nutali expressing concern over the situation in the Gaza Strip and urged the opening of humanitarian corridors. The foreign minister urged both sides focus on peace talk. The leaders of the Organization of Turkic States member states will meet later. At the end of the summit, Kazakhstan is expected to pass on the group's chairmanship to Uzbekistan. Meanwhile, President Kazakhstan has congratulated President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, on the 100th anniversary of the Republic of Turkey. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev stated this in his opening speech at the 10th summit of the Organization of Turkic States, OTS. In addition, he also thanked the president of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev. Schools across India's capital, New Delhi, have been shuttered and construction activities halted as the city was declared the world's most the world's most populated. The closures were ordered on Friday as the air pollution rose to dangerous levels, with a Swiss air quality monitoring group IQ Air putting the Indian city at the top of real-time list of the world's most populated cities. The city woke up to thick layer of toxic smog, and residents who complained of irritation in the eyes and itchy throats, triggering an order of some schools to be shut for 2 days. IQ Air put the city's air quality index AQI at 611 in the hazardous category. A reading of 0 to 50 is considered good. Anything between 400 to 500 is unhealthy. Air population in New Delhi usually starts getting worse from November, exacerbated by the burning of crop stubble in the states of Punjab and Haryana, part of the farm belt that borders New Delhi. That's it on the World News on VOP TV. I am Masinachi Okafor.